The thing about thermal scanning is that it always works. Always. At least, that's what Search Chief Clath believed until the moment two bright orange heat signatures belonging to the Thermian ambassador's cubs simply vanished from every scanner in the Phoenix Tech Center. One moment, the twins were glowing like tiny suns on his display, their natural body temperature of 45 degrees Celsius making them impossible to miss. The next moment, nothing. Just a cold, empty void where two alien children should have been. "Run the scan again," Clath ordered, his fur bristling with frustration. The four-armed Zealothi warrior had never lost a target in 30 years of security work. "Sir, I've run it 3 times, the technician replied, sweat beading on his forehead. The thermal signatures just disappeared. Like someone turned off a light. Meanwhile, 3 floors down in a converted storage room that absolutely wasn't supposed to be a workshop, Rosa Martinez was having the best day of her life. She'd finally perfected her liquid nitrogen ice cream technique, and the batch of strawberries she just made was so smooth, so perfect that she actually did a little dance. "Jenny," she said to her AI assistant, "log this. 15 seconds of liquid nitrogen exposure at -196 degrees Celsius creates the optimal crystal structure." "Rosa," Jenny replied in her perpetually patient voice, "you do realize you're using equipment worth 3 million credits to make dessert?" "I'm not making dessert," Rosa said, offended. "I'm creating edible happiness. There's a difference." She had no idea that at that very moment 2 small Thermian cubs named Zix and Vela were following the strangest sensation they'd ever experienced, cold air. On their volcanic home world, the temperature never dropped below 35 degrees. The concept of cold was as foreign to them as swimming would be to a creature from a desert planet. "Zix," Vela whispered, her natural orange glow flickering with excitement. "What is that feeling?" "I don't know," her twin brother replied, pressing his hand against the vent where frigid air was escaping. "But it doesn't hurt. It's just different." They'd been so bored during the facility tour. The human guide had been droning on about thermal efficiency matrices and heat dissipation protocols for what felt like hours. Their mother, Ambassador Veltor, was deep in discussion with human trade representatives, her 6 eyes glazed over with diplomatic patience. Nobody noticed when the twins slipped away. Nobody saw them squeeze through the ventilation grate. And absolutely nobody expected them to end up in Rosa Martinez's unauthorized ice cream laboratory. The first thing that hit them was the cold. Not painful cold, but a shocking, tingling sensation that made every nerve in their bodies sing with surprise. The second thing was the fog, beautiful, swirling clouds of vapor that danced around their feet like living things. The third thing was the smell. Sweet, rich, and completely unlike anything on their home world. "What is this place?" Vela gasped, her glow shifting from orange to a soft pink. "Before we continue this amazing story of how ice cream conquered the galaxy, I should mention that if you're enjoying this tale, please consider subscribing to our channel. We share stories that celebrate humanity's quirkiest contributions to the universe, and your support helps us reach more listeners. Now, let's see what happens when heat-dependent aliens discover frozen desserts. Zix was the first to approach the counter where Rosa had left her latest creations. 27 flavors, each in its own temperature-controlled container, each labeled with Rosa's meticulous handwriting: Vanilla Dream, Chocolate Cosmos, Strawberry Supernova, and stranger ones like Quantum Cookie Dough and Plasma Peach. He picked up a spoon. Rosa always left clean spoons everywhere, a habit Jenny constantly criticized, and tentatively touched it to the vanilla. The moment the ice cream touched his tongue, his entire world changed. "Vela," he squeaked, his glow flashing through colors she'd never seen before. "You have to try this. It's cold but it's not bad. It's happiness," Vela finished, having grabbed her own spoon. "It tastes like happiness feels." Their Thermian taste buds, evolved to detect the subtlest variations in volcanic minerals and superheated gases, were completely unprepared for the complexity of Earth ice cream. The cold temperature, rather than numbing their senses, seemed to amplify them. They could taste individual milk proteins, sugar molecules, and the faint essence of vanilla beans grown in Madagascar soil. "Try this one," Zix exclaimed, moving to the chocolate. His glow shifted to a deep purple, a color that Thermian biologists would later confirm had never been observed in their species before. Upstairs, the search was escalating into a full diplomatic crisis. "Ambassador Veltor," Clath said carefully, trying not to show his complete confusion, "we're having some technical difficulties with our thermal scanners." The ambassador's 6 eyes narrowed. "Technical difficulties?" You're telling me that Earth's most advanced facility can't find two children who literally glow with heat? We're tracking them to this section of the building, Klath showed her the display. But then they hit this area here and the readings just stop. It's like they entered a thermal void. That's impossible, Veltor said, her own orange glow pulsing with worry. My children need heat to survive. A thermal void would be really cold, Lieutenant Berg interrupted, pulling up a facility map. And the only really cold area in that section is... He paused, his face paling. Oh no. What? Klath demanded. Rosa Martinez's workshop. She's been running some kind of project down there. What kind of project requires thermal blocking? Berg winced. She makes ice cream, sir. Really, really cold ice cream. There was a moment of silence as everyone processed this. Ice cream? Veltor said slowly, as if the words were in an alien language. Which technically they were. It's a frozen dessert, Berg explained. Humans eat it for pleasure. It's sweet and cold and... Cold? Veltor's glow flared bright red. My children are in a cold room? They'll die. But 3 floors below, Zix and Vela were very much not dying. They were, in fact, having the best day of their young lives. They discovered toppings. Vela, look. Zix held up a bottle of chocolate sauce. This goes on top of the cold stuff. They were systematic in their exploration, as all good scientists should be. First, they tried each flavor individually, carefully noting how each one made their glow shift to different colors. Vanilla produced a soft white light. Chocolate created deep purple. Strawberry made them glow pink. The experimental plasma peach flavor turned them briefly transparent, which was alarming but also hilarious. Then came the combinations. Chocolate and vanilla swirled together. Strawberry with a hint of mint. And then Zix made the discovery that would change everything. Vela, he said, his voice serious. I mixed the chocolate with the coffee flavor and added these crunchy things labeled cookies. And? I can see through time. He was exaggerating but only slightly. The combination of caffeine, sugar, and the extreme cold was doing something unprecedented to their thermion physiology. Their bodies, designed to process extreme heat, were interpreting the cold as a completely new form of energy. Instead of shutting down, they were adapting, evolving, discovering capabilities they didn't know they had. Rosa, meanwhile, was in the world's most boring budget meeting, completely unaware that she was harboring alien fugitives. Ms. Martinez, board member Harrison was saying, while we appreciate your enthusiasm for frozen desserts, I fail to see how ice cream production relates to our aerospace contracts. Rosa stood up, her presentation remote in hand. Sir, with all due respect, you're thinking too small. Food is the universal language. Every species eats. If we can create something that appeals across species lines, we're not just making dessert, we're making diplomacy. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. Imagine, she continued, a future where trade negotiations happen over shared meals. Where first contact includes cultural exchange through cuisine. Where? Her phone buzzed again. And again. And again. Ms. Martinez, another board member interrupted, perhaps you should check that? Rosa glanced at her phone and saw 17 missed calls from security, 43 text messages in all caps, and 1 video message from Jenny titled, "Your freezer has alien children in it." I need to go, Rosa said, already running for the door. Meeting adjourned? Great, thanks, bye. Back in the workshop, the Cubs had discovered the walk-in freezer. It's even colder in here. Vela exclaimed, her breath forming clouds in the -40-degree air. And look at all these containers. They were in ice cream heaven. Rosa's freezer contained not just her finished products, but ingredients from around the world. Tahitian vanilla beans, Belgian chocolate, fresh fruit from every continent, and exotic ingredients she'd been experimenting with, including some items that weren't technically legal to import. What's this? Zix asked, holding up a container labeled Ghost Pepper Chocolate. Do not eat. It says do not eat, Vela pointed out. It also says chocolate, Zix countered, grabbing a spoon. The resulting sensation was educational. The extreme heat of the ghost pepper combined with the extreme cold of the ice cream created a sensation that Zix could only describe as angry happiness. His glow strobed between red and purple so fast it looked like a disco ball. I love it, he gasped, tears streaming from all 4 of his eyes. It's horrible and wonderful at the same time. This was the scene that greeted Klath's search team when they finally breached the workshop. Two small aliens, glowing in colors that shouldn't exist, covered head to toe in various ice cream flavors, building what appeared to be a frozen sculpture made entirely of different colored sorbets. "Freeze!" Clath commanded, then realized the irony of his word choice. The cubs looked up, spoons in hand, faces covered in chocolate. "Hi," Zix said cheerfully. "Want some ice cream? We invented a new flavor. It's called Supernova Swirl, and it makes your tongue feel like dancing." Clath's tactical team, trained for every possible scenario, stood there in complete confusion. Their thermal equipment was icing over, their breath forming clouds, and two alien children who should have been in severe hypothermic shock were offering them dessert. "Sir," one of his team members said through chattering teeth, "should we arrest the ice cream?" That's when Rosa burst through the door, skidding to a halt on a patch of melted strawberry. "Oh my God," she said, taking in the scene. "You're the missing cubs? How long have you been here?" "Forever," Vela said happily. "Also, what's brain freeze? Because I think I have it but I kind of like it?" Rosa's scientific mind immediately went into overdrive. These were Thermians. Their core body temperature was hot enough to boil water. And yet here they were, thriving in sub-zero temperatures, their biology somehow adapted to process cold as a positive stimulus. "This is impossible," she breathed. "That's what we said about the mint chocolate chip," Zix replied. "But then we tried it and now Vela can speak colors." "I can what?" Vela asked. "You've been saying purple for the last 5 minutes but in different flavors," Zix explained. Ambassador Veltor arrived at that moment, her diplomatic composure completely shattered. She saw her cubs, glowing purple and covered in dessert, and her maternal instincts overrode every protocol she'd ever learned. "Zix, Vela, are you hurt? Are you cold? Why are you purple?" "Mom," the cubs chorused, running to her with sticky hands. "We discovered something amazing. Cold can taste good. And look what we can do now." They demonstrated their new ability to modulate their glow across the entire spectrum, creating patterns and colors that no Thermian had ever produced before. "It's the ice cream," Rosa explained, her mind racing. "The extreme temperature shift triggered some kind of evolutionary adaptation. They're not just surviving the cold, they're thriving in it." "But that's impossible," Veltor said, even as she scanned her children and found them in perfect health. Better than perfect, actually. Their metabolic rates were optimal, their neural activity was enhanced, and they were producing endorphins at unprecedented levels. "Mom, you have to try this," Vela insisted, holding up a spoon of vanilla. "It's like, imagine if happiness was cold." Veltor looked at the spoon suspiciously. In Thermian culture, cold was death. Cold was the absence of life. Cold was... She took a tiny taste. "Ms. Martinez," another board member interrupted, "perhaps you should check that?" Rosa glanced at her phone and saw 17 missed calls from security, 43 text messages in all caps, and one video message from Jenny titled, "Your freezer has alien children in it." "I need to go," Rosa said, already running for the door. "Meeting adjourned? Great, thanks, bye." Back in the workshop, the cubs had discovered the walk-in freezer. "It's even colder in here," Vela exclaimed, her breath forming clouds in the -40-degree air. "And look at all these containers." They were in ice cream heaven. Rosa's freezer contained not just her finished products, but ingredients from around the world. Tahitian vanilla beans, Belgian chocolate, fresh fruit from every continent, and exotic ingredients she'd been experimenting with, including some items that weren't technically legal to import. "What's this?" Zix asked, holding up a container labeled Ghost Pepper Chocolate. "Do not eat." "It says do not eat," Vela pointed out. "It also says chocolate," Zix countered, grabbing a spoon. The resulting sensation was educational. The extreme heat of the ghost pepper combined with the extreme cold of the ice cream created a sensation that Zix could only describe as angry happiness. His glow strobed between red and purple so fast it looked like a disco ball. "I love it," he gasped, tears streaming from all 4 of his eyes. "It's horrible and wonderful at the same time." This was the scene that greeted Clath's search team when they finally breached the workshop. Two small aliens, glowing in colors that shouldn't exist, covered head to toe in various ice cream flavors, building what appeared to be a frozen sculpture made entirely of different colored sorbets. "Freeze!" Clath commanded, then realized the irony of his word choice. The cubs looked up, spoons in hand, faces covered in chocolate. "Hi," Zek said cheerfully. "Want some ice cream? We invented a new flavor. It's called Supernova Swirl, and it makes your tongue feel like dancing." Clath's tactical team, trained for every possible scenario, stood there in complete confusion. Their thermal equipment was icing over, their breath forming clouds, and two alien children who should have been in severe hypothermic shock were offering them dessert. "Sir," one of his team members said through chattering teeth, "should we arrest the ice cream?" That's when Rosa burst through the door, skidding to a halt on a patch of melted strawberry. "Oh my God," she said, taking in the scene. "You're the missing cubs? How long have you been here?" "Forever," Vela said happily. "Also, what's brain freeze? Because I think I have it but I kind of like it?" Rosa's scientific mind immediately went into overdrive. These were Thermians. Their core body temperature was hot enough to boil water. And yet here they were, thriving in sub-zero temperatures, their biology somehow adapted to process cold as a positive stimulus. "This is impossible," she breathed. "That's what we said about the mint chocolate chip," Zix replied. "But then we tried it and now Vela can speak colors." "I can what?" Vela asked. "You've been saying purple for the last 5 minutes but in different flavors," Zix explained. Ambassador Veltor arrived at that moment, her diplomatic composure completely shattered. She saw her cubs, glowing purple and covered in dessert, and her maternal instincts overrode every protocol she'd ever learned. "Zix, Vela, are you hurt? Are you cold? Why are you purple?" "Mom," the cubs chorused, running to her with sticky hands. "We discovered something amazing. Cold can taste good. And look what we can do now." They demonstrated their new ability to modulate their glow across the entire spectrum, creating patterns and colors that no Thermian had ever produced before. "It's the ice cream," Rosa explained, her mind racing. The extreme temperature shift triggered some kind of evolutionary adaptation. They're not just surviving the cold, they're thriving in it. "But that's impossible," Veltor said even as she scanned her children and found them in perfect health. Better than perfect, actually. Their metabolic rates were optimal, their neural activity was enhanced, and they were producing endorphins at unprecedented levels. "Mom, you have to try this," Vela insisted, holding up a spoon of vanilla. "It's like, imagine if happiness was cold." Veltor looked at the spoon suspiciously. In Thermian culture, cold was death. Cold was the absence of life. Cold was... She took a tiny taste. Her glow immediately shifted to a soft lavender, a color that in Thermian culture represented transcendent joy but which hadn't been seen in generations. "Oh," she said quietly. Then louder, "OH." Clath watched this entire scene with the expression of someone whose worldview was being gently but thoroughly destroyed. He was a security chief. He dealt with threats and breaches and diplomatic incidents. He did not deal with ice cream-induced evolutionary leaps. "Would you like to try some?" Zix asked him, holding up a spoon of chocolate. "This one makes you feel like your stern face is smiling on the inside." "I don't have a stern face," Clath said sternly. "That's okay," Vela said. "The ice cream will fix it." Against every protocol, every instinct, and every shred of professional dignity, Clath took the spoon. The chocolate ice cream hit his palate like a revelation. His species, the Zealothi, experienced taste through their fur follicles as well as their tongues. The cold made every strand of his coat tingle with sensation. "This is..." He paused, searching for words. "Acceptable." He took another spoonful. Then another. "Highly acceptable," he amended. Rosa watched all of this with the growing realization that she might have just accidentally solved one of the galaxy's biggest challenges: creating food that multiple species could enjoy together. Every species had different dietary requirements, different taste receptors, different concepts of what was even edible. But ice cream. "Jenny," she said to her phone, "start documenting everything. Temperature readings, flavor combinations, biological responses, everything. Already on it, Jenny replied. Also, the board of directors is standing behind you. Rosa turned to find 12 very confused humans watching aliens eat ice cream in her illegally converted workshop. So, board member Harrison said slowly, about that funding for ice cream diplomacy? I'm going to need a bigger freezer, Rosa said. The next few hours were controlled chaos. Word spread quickly through the facility that the missing cubs had been found, and that they'd been transformed by ice cream. Scientists arrived with scanners. Diplomats arrived with documents. Other alien staff members arrived with spoons. The crystalline entity from accounting discovered that liquid nitrogen was actually a pleasant beverage for silicon-based life forms. The gaseous nebula from HR found that frozen desserts were the first solid food they could actually taste. The Hive Mind Collective from engineering experienced individuality for the first time when different nodes chose different flavors. But it was the cubs who became the real stars of the show. They'd spent 2 hours alone with Rosa's creations, and in that time, they'd become ice cream experts. See, the trick, Zix explained to a group of fascinated scientists, is the temperature gradient. If you eat it too fast, your brain gets angry, that's brain freeze. But if you go too slow, it becomes soup. And toppings are essential, Vela added, demonstrating with hot fudge. The temperature contrast creates a sensory paradox that makes your happiness glands confused in the best way. Happiness glands aren't a real thing, one scientist protested. They are now, Vela said confidently. Ice cream creates them. Rosa had set up an impromptu tasting station, watching with delight as beings from different worlds discovered flavors together. But she kept coming back to the cubs and their purple glow. Can you control it? She asked them. Watch this, Zix said. He concentrated, and his glow shifted from purple to blue to green to gold, creating a rainbow effect. It's like the cold unlocked something, Vela explained. Before we could only be orange to red. Now we can be everything. The Thermal Council will want to study this, Veltor said, though she was on her third bowl of strawberry and clearly not in any hurry to leave. Let them come, Rosa said, an idea forming. In fact, let's invite everyone. We'll have an ice cream summit. Clath, who was now on his 5th serving of what he called security sorbet, it was just raspberry but Rosa wasn't going to correct him, looked up. That's either the best or worst idea I've ever heard. It's both, Rosa said cheerfully. That's what makes it perfect. The cubs had wandered back to the freezer and made another discovery. Aunt Rosa. Zix called out. Rosa wasn't sure when she'd become Aunt, but she wasn't complaining. What's this machine? Rosa looked and grinned. That's an ice cream maker. Want to learn how to use it? The next hour was magical. The cubs, with their unique understanding of both extreme heat and extreme cold, turned out to be natural ice cream artists. They created combinations Rosa never would have thought of. Lava fruit sorbet, using fruit from their home world that normally had to be eaten at 200 degrees. Temporal vanilla, somehow they made it taste different at different moments. Friendship freeze, it tasted different depending on who you shared it with. This is scientifically impossible, one physicist said, scanning the friendship freeze. So is purple thermians, Rosa pointed out. Sometimes impossible just means we haven't figured it out yet. As the day wore on, the workshop became increasingly crowded. Word had spread beyond the facility. The mayor arrived. Then the governor. Then someone from the UN. Then someone from the Galactic Council. Everyone wanted to see the purple thermian cubs who'd been transformed by ice cream. Everyone wanted to taste Rosa's creations. And everyone, without exception, left with their worldviews slightly shifted. You know what this means? Veltor said to Rosa as they watched Zix teach a group of alien children how to make sundaes. That I need to patent everything immediately? That too, Veltor laughed. But I meant that you've created the first truly universal food. Something that every species can enjoy, that brings out the best in all of us. It's just ice cream, Rosa said modestly. No, Clath interrupted, approaching with a bowl that contained at least 7 different flavors. It's not just ice cream. It's a bridge. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get different species to sit at the same table? To share anything? But look around. Rosa looked. Humans and aliens, beings of heat and cold, crystal and gas, all united in their enjoyment of frozen dessert. The cubs had started a Congo line, teaching everyone a song about proper cone-holding technique. This is going to change everything, Zek'tar said. She was right, though none of them knew quite how much. The next morning, Rosa arrived at her workshop to find it transformed. The board had approved emergency funding. Equipment was being installed. Professional freezers, industrial ice cream makers, and a sign that read, Earth's first interspecies culinary laboratory. Jenny, Rosa said, what happened? You went viral, Jenny replied. The video of the purple cubs teaching Clath to make a sundae has been viewed 9 billion times. You have ice cream orders from 14-star systems. But I don't mass produce. You do now. Also, the cubs are here. They brought friends. Rosa found Zix and Vela in what was now the main lab, teaching a group of mixed-species children how to make what they called Galaxy Swirl. Every child added an ingredient from their home world, creating something unique but unified. Aunt Rosa, they called out. We're inventing. I see that. What have you created? Peace, Zix said simply. We put peace in ice cream form. A month later, the first Galactic Ice Cream Summit was held at the Phoenix Tech Center. Representatives from every known species attended. The cubs, now officially designated as Junior Culinary Ambassadors, presented their discoveries. The purple glow, Zix explained to the assembled scientists, isn't just about temperature adaptation. It's about joy receptors. Thermians always had them, but they were dormant. The ice cream activated them. And it's not unique to us, Vela added. Every species has hidden potential. You just have to find the right key to unlock it. Ice cream, Rosa explained in her keynote speech, isn't about the cold or the sugar or even the flavors. It's about surprise. It's about experiencing something that shouldn't exist. Frozen liquid, solid that melts, cold that doesn't hurt. It makes us question what we think we know. And when we question, Zek'tar added, now Rosa's co-presenter, we grow. The summit ended with the signing of the Ice Cream Accords. Earth would share ice cream technology freely. Other worlds would provide exotic ingredients. The cubs' inventions would be added to the official recipe database. And Rosa's workshop would become the center of culinary diplomacy. Clath, who'd been promoted to head of culinary security, a position created just for him, made the closing statement. In my career, I've seen weapons that could destroy planets and technology that could reshape stars. But nothing has had the impact of what happened here. 2 children got lost, found ice cream, and united the galaxy. If that's not worth protecting, I don't know what is. The cubs had one final surprise. They'd been working with Rosa on a special flavor, one that captured the essence of their discovery. We call it, the day everything changed, Zix announced. What's in it? Someone asked. Wonder, Vela said. With chocolate chips. They served it to everyone. It tasted like childhood and discovery and the moment when impossible becomes possible. It tasted like purple thermians and stern security chiefs smiling and humans realizing their desserts could bring peace. It tasted like the future. 6 weeks later, Rosa stood in her expanded laboratory, now 20 times its original size. The cubs were there, as they were most days, working on their latest creation, ice cream that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. It's theoretically impossible, Rosa said, watching them work. So were we, Zix pointed out, his purple glow shimmering with concentration. Fair point. Clath entered with his daily security report, though these days it was mostly about preventing ice cream theft rather than finding missing children. The Crimson Empire wants to know if you can make ice cream that glows, he said. Already did, Vela said, holding up a cone that was indeed glowing. We call it Lighthouse Lemon. Of course you do, Clath sighed, though he was already reaching for a spoon. Ambassador Zek'tar arrived for her daily visit, though she spent more time these days studying the science of cold than doing traditional diplomacy. The Thermal Council has officially recognized the purple glow as an evolutionary advancement, she announced. They want to know if it can be replicated. Tell them to eat more ice cream, Zek said simply. I did. They're sending a delegation next week. Rosa looked around her laboratory, at the aliens and humans working together, at the cubs who'd become like family, at the freezers full of impossible flavors that somehow existed anyway. You know, she said to Jenny, when I started making ice cream in that storage room, I just wanted to make people happy. Mission accomplished, Jenny replied. Though I still think you should have stuck to aerospace. Aerospace can get humans to the stars, Rosa said. But ice cream brought the stars to us. Outside, the Arizona sun beat down with its usual intensity. But inside the laboratory, it was always the perfect temperature for ice cream, cold enough to freeze cream, warm enough to bring species together. And in the center of it all, two purple glowing Thermian cubs continued to prove that sometimes the best discoveries come from getting lost, that the greatest innovations come from breaking rules, and that universal peace might just come in a cone. Hey Aunt Rosa, Vela called out. I think I just invented ice cream that makes you temporarily telepathic. That's impossible, Rosa said automatically. Want to try it? Zix offered, holding out a spoon. Rosa took it because she'd learned something important from the cubs. Impossible just meant nobody had done it yet. And in a universe where heat-loving aliens could evolve to love cold, where ice cream could bring galactic peace, where two lost children could change everything with dessert, well, impossible didn't mean much anymore. The ice cream tasted like thoughts. Happy ones. How? Rosa said, suddenly hearing everyone's mind for just a moment. We're going to need a warning label for this one. The cubs giggled, their purple glow brightening the room, and went back to inventing the impossible. One spoonful at a time.